Hello, Judy here from Thistledew Creations, back with another Wild Whale corduroy covered notebook. I just finished this green one for my son. Kept it very simple with the decoration because it is for a man. And I used his favorite paper, the dot paper. As we talked about in the last video, the first half of the book is going to be dots, and the second half, the leading page, will be white, but the back side of that page, this side, would be the dots. So he'll figure out how to use it, I'm sure. But I just thought that turned out so nicely. It's bound with hemp cord. Again, rustic and sturdy for a man's book. I haven't figured out my charms yet. Probably an owl is what I'll put on it because he likes owls. But that's the first one I've made. Now, a couple ideas came to me when I was making that one, which is quite common. So I thought I'd make one for his girlfriend Amelia while I'm in the mode. And I've pulled out a few things that I think I'll use to decorate it. And I've already prepped the pages. So if you haven't seen the first video where I make the green one, go back and watch it. It shows how I figure out what size and rounding the corners and all of that for creating the signature. And this is fairly chunky little signature. It's 20 pages out of one of these sketchbooks from the Dollarama. And I go over that in the other video as well. And plus some other options that you could use for paper. There's endless options. You could make it as an actual scrappy junk journal too if you wanted, but I'm doing these ones as little notebooks for people who don't really junk journal. So more just list books or something that'll, in this case, for Amelia, it's something that'll fit in her purse probably. So, or her backpack or whatever she happens to be using. One of the things I talked about in the other video was this edge. So these are fabric, upholstery fabric samples. And this is corduroy, and of course this leading edge wants to fray on me. So I'm going to just cut off loose pieces that aren't unraveling. And I'm gonna put some 3-in-1 glue along that edge. But I won't do that right now. I wanna get the signature sewn in first. I've picked out some thread, which is kind of a shimmery copper tone yarn, probably from the 60s or the 70s. It's very old, and I used this a lot when I was making dream catchers. I had this in silver and copper. I got it at a yard sale or something, and I just love this this yarn for that. So that's, and then because this is sort of an orangey coppery color cover. And then I found these two papers that are somewhere in between pink and orange that I'm going to use on the inside of hers. A couple of ideas came to me for dressing this up. So the first idea was when I was binding Carson's book, and I made my little template here. I said I often end up forgetting to take this out and I sew it in. So then I said I should just make one that can stay in. And then my brain started working on that whole problem, and I came up with an idea for it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make it out of something a little more decorative. So I'm gonna fold this polka dot paper in half, crease it a bit. Crease it both ways, that really helps. And then what I thought I would do is put it in the center of the book, make it as the template, put it in the center of the book, and then glue down the edges, and you've got pockets. So I'm going to need to trim it up a bit. It can't be wider than the pages, so they were 4 3/8. Let me just cut this to 4 3/8 and see. So that's 4 1/2, that's 4 1/4. It'll be right in between those two. better do it with this folded edge out. In there. And then I want to cut it this way too, because I do want it to be a pocket. So I want, well, I could leave it long and put a scoop in it, but I think I want to trim just a little bit off of it. Maybe about 1/2 inch. And then there's 2 ways you could do this. My original thought was to use my edger and make it a fancy edge in there, which you could do too. But then I thought of making it a tuck spot, so I don't really want something delicate. Like this cuts quite a delicate edge that would be difficult to get things in and out of because it's got pointy things. So if it was just for decoration, this would work. Having this idea, making it like a ruffled edge down the center of the center page. But I've decided I want the pocket idea. So I'm gonna cut this to, let's see, let's do 2.5. Cut off the, not the folded edge. Let's see what 2.5 looks like. I'm wasting a lot of this paper, but that's just because I'm figuring it out. The next time I do it, I won't waste all these little strips. And you don't really necessarily waste them. You create strips. You can use them. So now this, if it's in the center of the book with a notch in it, that gives a reasonable tuck spot. So my notch, I'll use my, you can use the circle punch. It's probably the easiest. I often use my whale tail tab punch. So I want to find the center so that this is in the middle of the book. So, rulers, rulers, rulers. Let's see. This is 4 3/8, I believe. Yep. So 2 3/16 would be center. One, two, three. And I'm going to cut it folded so that they're both in exactly the same spot. And I'm just kind of eyeing it. I don't have a mark. Well, there is a mark there for center, so I could make sure that that's lined up when this goes in. Ultimately, you're just eyeing it. And I'm not going too deep so that it's just a swoop. And I think I'm going to round these corners. I'll use the smaller round over on these. Oops, that one didn't work. You really got to make sure that it's seated in there properly. I'll have to switch to the middle size because there's no way to really correct that other than making a bigger one. So then, instead of measuring it all out, since I already have this made, I'm going to just mark it. And it has to be on the pink side, orangey pink side. So I'm going to line this up like so. And then I'm going to mark right through my holes from my first journal. And they're just off of the crease, but I can make sure that they do get poked right on the crease. Let's go ahead and poke these there. And so that'll be the center page, but then I'll glue it down so that it's pockets. And that makes my template stay in the book because I often sew these in by mistake. So this is just one version of this idea. And I don't think I've seen any, well, I know I haven't seen anyone else do this. Doesn't mean it's never been done, but I haven't seen anyone do it. And I did make this pocket just a little narrower than the page. And it's good that it's on a white page, I think. So that, And then this is where I decide how far I'm going to sew, how far I'm going to fold this over. I do want it to cover the back side, to cover the pages, so there is good. And it doesn't matter that this doesn't come all the way over, because I'm going to trim it out with some lace, which will come maybe even further than the back. So once I've got this positioned where I want it, so I'm kind of lining up the white pages with the brown cardstock that's lining the fabric. And of course they line up better on one end than the other, but that's all right. As long as they line up sort of side to side, I'll be pretty happy with it. And then this, I want it lined up too. I want it centered on the white page. And then I'll clamp that in so it doesn't move around on me. I'm going to use all, see, the nice thing about leaving it in is you can clamp it really well and you don't have to take them off again. And then I'm going to use my thick foam pad underneath to protect my table. I'm going to go right through everything, and it is a pretty thick bunch of papers to go through, but I'm going to manage it. And this is going right through the cover. And then go right into the sewing. My needle's ready. So I'm going to go in through the center, inside, out, inside to outside. And I'm just going to take this, I'm going to pull it out about that far because I want to make, I'm probably going to do 2 strings of charms for Amelia's. A little more girly. And then I got to find these holes. They disappear in the corduroy. I can kind of see there. Come up through. Sometimes you have to kind of lift and find the first page. It should be perfectly lined up, but sometimes the fabric will shift it just a bit. It's really hard when your hole disappears on the outside because, oh, there it goes. Found it that time, right through. So then you want to pull this fairly tight and then go down to the other end and go out. And that was much easier. And then you want to make sure that end comes out. And then back in the center hole again, very same hole, and out and up on the opposite side of the string. Okay. And so that's going to be pretty on the spine. And then you can take the clamps off, tie. In this case, I will do a little bow. I'm going to pull this way down and cut it off. Cut these about the same length for now. Leave that threaded in case I need it for something. In fact, I think I might. Just saying that gave me another idea. So then you tie your knot so that it is holding that center string down. So that's why you want to come up on the opposite side of the string, so that one string is on this side and one string is on this side, and when you tie the knot, it holds it in place. So I'm going to do that twice, and then I'm going to tie a little bow. And that can be tricky. Just takes a little practice. You can do the bow bigger than it wants to be, and then tighten it up to where you think you'd like it, and then re-tighten. And then you take those loops and tie another little knot with them. That'll hold it in place. Might want them long enough that you can do that without too much trouble. It's kind of finicky when they're short. So you're basically just using the loop as one piece of string. I can't seem to get my fingers to work. There we go. Just a little longer will help. If you have someone with smaller fingers that can help you, it might be good. I don't always struggle so much with this. Also might help if you can just get that loop to go through. There we go. It's like tying the knot in a balloon. It's just a little awkward sometimes. So one should hold that, and then I'm going to leave these long in case, well, I do want to put charms. And probably the charms that I'll use for hers will be rose gold. So they'll go with that nicely. So then the clamps can come off because it's sewn together. I'm not going to put them very far away because I am doing more of these today. I'm having fun. Might be a series. So then that looks really cute when it's opened and you've kept your template right in the book. So now two places I want to glue here. I want to make these tuck spots, so I'm going to glue right up the side. And I'm using the 3-in-1 just for the quickness. It doesn't really need to be. It could be just any white glue or whatever glue you normally use for paper to paper. And then just stick that down. This stuff sets up nice and quick, so you don't have to worry about clamping it. Just give it a little rub down until it's set. And for any newbies, always glue on the shortest thing. So if you've got this as a small piece of paper being glued to a large piece of paper, glue on the small thing. Don't try to guesstimate how far up it's going to come and glue here, because you'll almost always either not glue far enough or you'll glue too far, and then you've got a gluey mess out on your page. So always glue on the shortest piece. It's kind of common sense, but it's a thing that I used to do all the time until I kind of figured out that trick, that you should always just glue on the shorter or the smaller thing. There, so that's cute. And then I actually did pull out some little papers that I might just tuck in those pockets. So these are kind of beige and pink roses. And I thought what I would do, they're not going to fit like that, but they'll fit folded in 4. And then that is where I could use my punch and do a fancy edge. So let's just see how that works out. Does anyone else have trouble with their punches not opening back up? And if you do, how do you fix it other than what I'm doing so that it'll release? Yeah. Does that to me all the time. And I think I've tried to go through too many pieces, see? So let's try again. We'll just sort of, what will we do? Do one edge. I know this does work. I think what it is it doesn't like the thin paper. So let's abandon that for a minute. That's getting off track anyway. Let's decorate this puppy. So, like I said, I want to make this one prettier. So I've got a few things picked out. I've got this lace, which is just a little wider than the cover. And I want it sort of like about like this. So it's going out onto the cover, but it's covering up the raw edge, which I need to glue. And again, I'm just using the 3-in-1 because it dries so quickly and it's clear. And I'm just taking it right out of the nozzle and sort of spreading it so that I'm not getting too much glue. And this is to stop this from fraying. That's why I'm spreading it on the very edge of the fabric. And then I am gonna lay down some glue this way. Straight down. When I do lace, I often do it this way instead of gluing the smaller thing. And quite a bit of lace, or quite a bit of glue I want, because it's fabric to fabric and it's absorbent fabric. So I want to make sure it doesn't just all disappear into the corduroy. So fairly good globs on there. And then figure out exactly where I want this. I think about there. So that leaves that edge loose, but I can go down there again with the glue. I just got to make sure first that I don't want to stick something in underneath there. So the pieces that I had thought were either this or maybe this. I've got 2 little flowers. Actually, these would be enough, or even one would be enough. That's really pretty. And I have skeleton leaves, but I think I might save those for a different project. And then the other thing that I was thinking out loud, or thinking when I said out loud that I might need this again, was that I would weave this through like here, just in and out of the lace. This is a piece of really old vintage lace. I don't even remember where it came from. I think it's about the end of it. I've used it all up. Always looking for old lace like that. New lace is fine, but old lace is awesome. Now here, I'm kind of going right through one of the cross pieces, but I'm going to let it happen because I think that'll help me to keep this from just pulling right through on me. So if it'll let me put this needle through, it's not going to let me, so I'm going to just pull it through. That looks like I want it doubled up, so I'm gonna even up my string here so I don't run out, because it looks good doubled up in there. And it just repeats this element. Oh, this is going to be pretty. It's all about making pretty things, isn't it? And then if they can be useful too, that's awesome. I can pull that through a little bit, but I don't want this to pull right out, so I'm going to be careful. It's a little, it's got a little bit of a tension on it from being woven in and out, so it's not trying to just pull out on me. I'm just gonna do a little stitch here at the end, just to kind of hold it. If I can. I should have done a stitch at the other end when I started. Oh no, there we go. So now, just put that back through. Call that a knot. And maybe I'm just gonna cut it long for now. Just in my infinite wisdom, I'm thinking I might need that. And then this is going to be trickier. I should have started with a knot. Start with a knot if you're going to do this. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to get both of these through. And the reason being is it's kind of frayish on the ends. Might be able to poke them through. I'll never be able to tie a knot, so I'm going to have to be satisfied with a dab of glue to hold that from coming out. Okay, so now that I've got that done, I can glue this down. I don't think I want anything else poking out from behind it. So now I am going to glue on the lace so that I don't get the glue too far out on the corduroy. It caught down at this end. Oh, pretty good. So that's nicely glued down. Let's see how that looks. And you can see it's just a little long. I was actually wishing it was even a little longer, but I'll show you what I've decided to do is fold this in like this and glue it. And that'll tidy up the edges, but I'm just debating whether to leave this long. I think I'm going to end up cutting it off. But I'll just put a little dab of glue here. And fold this over and hold it just for a few seconds. Clamp it maybe so I can go on with my life. And then same thing over here. And I'm not worried that it's not even. I'm not worried that it's not the same on both sides. And the reason is that my plan was to make another little pocket here that covers this, or at least comes right up to it. If I had enough paper, I would use the same paper, but I don't. And if I'd planned it better, I probably would have had enough paper. So keep that in mind if you're doing these about this size. You could probably get both the center pocket and a pocket here out of the same sheet of paper, but the way that I cut it and the fact that I experimented with it, it means that I don't have enough. But this, I had pulled this out and it's not the same color, but it's pretty close. And I think it's still gonna go. It's cute. So I gotta figure out exactly what size I want this to be. And I think I'm going to put one of these at the front and the back just because I have enough to do that. So again, I'm going to be able to use my guillotine for that. And I know that this was 4 3/8, so I'm going to start with 4 1/2 and see. No, I know it's 4 3/8, so I'm just going to go in between 4 1/4 and 4 1/2 and cut that. And I don't need this very wide. I need it about 1 1/2. So I'll cut 2 pieces, 1 1/2. I'm going to go 1 3/4. Changing my mind on the fly is normal for me. Okay, there's still a few pieces of that. And I can use my whale tail tab again to give me that little notch. So all I did was fold it in half and just soft crease. So that tells me where the center is. And just line that up. Doesn't really matter if these ones are exactly the same, but I do want it in the middle. So, and then I can do my corners using the smallest round over. And it does help if you use this side, like if you allow yourself to see that you've got this down in the corner properly. It works just fine. Usually works just fine the other way. But if you don't have it sitting right where it needs to sit, it will cut a weird little not rounded corner. Okay, so this should be dry enough. Let's see how this fits. So I want this way. Yeah, I was right to make it just a little wider. Probably could have even been a little wider again, but we'll go with this. So I want to cover the edge of the brown and get as close to covering the edges of the lace as I can. So it will work. And this could have been a bit thicker. I was trying to find something that was cardstock. It is a little thicker than some scrapbook papers, but I know I have some thicker ones. But I had to go for color. So this is going to be glued down on 3 sides. And I find it helps if you hold on to the side you don't want to glue. So you're not going to accidentally glue it. And I'm also going to put a little bit here, just to give it a little help in that regard, going against the fabric and preventing fraying, future fraying. And just sort of smooth that out, the stuff that's exposed. So I think I'm going to go ahead and clamp that again because it's dealing with some lumps and bumps. So it might not want to stay flat long enough for the glue to set up. So that's the reasoning for that. Just while we do the other side, I'll do that. And then move over here to the other end. And again, this is going to probably cover better and easier. Oh, it's not quite as wide as the brown, so I'm going to pull it in so that I get an even edge around the craft paper. And you'll notice I'm not doing any inking. Of course, if I was doing this more as a junk journal, everything would likely be inked and there'd be torn edges and the whole bit. But these are gifts for, right now, these two that I'm making are gifts for my son and his girlfriend, and they're more for a notebook, list book, idea book. If they want to make it junky, they can, but I know that isn't really their style as much as it's my style. Now that's going to hold nicely because it's nice flat surfaces, so I don't need to clamp it on this side. But what I can do is figure out now what I can do with these papers. Maybe those aren't even the right ones. They're a little pink. So I'll find something else to stick in the pockets. It could just be some little tags that I make, like that, or some other little craft supplies or stickers, all loaded up with things that they will like. But that's basically the book. Oh, I've got to put the rest of my decorations on. So I was thinking these roses, or at least one of them, I do like this one. I like the texture of it. And it already has leaves, which I won't even bother to. I would probably ink the heck out of this if I was using it in another project. But actually, I might have an ink color that will work well with that. Just for a touch of something. In my Alina Crafts inks from Timu, the autumn grass is almost exactly what I need. So let's see. I wish these companies that are making these inks, I wish they would make the labels match a little better. Like, that's not really a great representation. So to utilize that, I'll use just a little foam pad and replace it on my actually, that probably would have been fine. What I'm thinking is just sort of the tips of the leaves. Actually, they could be done in a green, but yeah, that's a pretty good color. And then just the high spots on the rose as well. I love this. I know how to make these. I should really make a bunch because I made them out of denim one summer at the trailer, and I sewed. I don't know if this one is sewn or glued. But it's a great way to use up scraps of fabric or even ribbon, fabric ribbon. So I like the way that looks. This back before it falls over. Okay, and then this can just be put down with some glue. And I think I'm going to put it with the leaves going in so that you see all that dimension. Now the other thing that I do have is some felt leaves that I cut out of a placemat from the Dollarama, I believe. And I could put a couple of these as well, just to kind of but I think I'm covering up too much of that string that I put through there. Yeah, I think I won't bother with that on this one, but that's a good type of leaf to use on something like this, especially with the corduroy. It just sort of has the right vibe. But I think I'm just going to put that. And that'll need quite a dollop. Because again, we're dealing with uneven surfaces and fabrics. And I don't tend to like using hot glue for this kind of thing. Hot glue's fast, but it doesn't stay stuck very well to some things over time. So I'm just going to kind of eyeball the center and stick that down. I might just have to hold it or put it under something heavy for a little bit. Really happy with the way this one's turning out. This was the other piece that I had that I might use on a different one. And then the other thing you can also use is these wooden cutouts would be good focal point for these if you don't want it so dimensional. I actually like the fact that this is a little bit three-dimensional. I think this is so pretty. Well, I hope you guys have enjoyed seeing this little book created. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Most of all, have a great day and happy crafting.